So welcome back to my channel. This is Gamer Dom and another look at another type of vehicle within the World of Tanks community and world. So we've looked at heavy tanks, we've looked at medium tanks, we've looked at light tanks. So what next? Tank destroyers, of course. So tank destroyers. So the concept behind a tank destroyer, it's a good idea to get the sort of background on how they were developed. Originally they were developed as a cheap method. Now building a tank, a battle tank which has a turret, working turret and all that kind of stuff is a lot of effort and quite difficult to do. And so in the Second World War, which is where these things were primarily used, they were a cheap mass-produced vehicle. They could take, in often cases, obsolete chassis, obsolete designs, and put big ass guns on them and send them out relatively quickly onto the battlefield and competitive. And they were a stopgap in many ways for vehicles that while they were trying to develop a more up-to-date main battle tank, as I say, they could take an obsolete design chassis, stick a big gun on it, not have to worry about a turret and all the other intricacies of a battle tank, and send them out, and they could be competitive. And the Allies particularly used them as a way of giving their forces a competitive gun to deal with the German tanks in the Second World War. Now there was also another class which was around hunter-gatherer type TDs, so vehicles that were designed to ambush, to pounce on the unwary. And Germans made a lot of use of these in the Second World War, particularly in the defensive battles towards the latter half of the Second World War, because they were designed to be sneaky, to remain concealed as long as possible, and if they had any armour it was all on the front, because that was where they were going to be facing the enemy tanks. And so they were, the Jagdtigers, those sort of things, were designed to be vehicles that could remain hidden for as long as possible and take out enemy armour. And in World of Tanks, there are, trying to simplify things down as much as possible, there's two different types of TDs, and it's really important when you play a TD you realise what the role is you have as a TD. So two main varieties, and I find it's easier to describe one as assault guns and the others as tank destroyers. So assault guns, a bit like this WZ-11111111FT, the Chinese tank destroyer. This thing has quite a bit of frontal armour. So this thing has, where we go, 180 millimeters of frontal armour there, and 80 at the side, 80 at the rear, 60 at the rear. So it's pretty well armoured for a TD, which means it can take a few hits. You look at something like this AMX AC, again 150 armour at the front, pretty well angled as well. That bounces a lot of stuff. Where's some others here? Russians tend to have a lot of these assault guns. This thing here, this is the Object 704, which I believe is based on the one of the IS series hulls, a heavy tank. So it's 120 millimeters of pretty well sloped armour. But then you get things like this. This has 1 millimeter of armour. So this very definitely sits within the lightweight category of TD. And there's other types of sort of lightweight TDs out there. So look at the Achilles, British tank destroyer. Hull armour 38, when we're talking about, and 57 in the turret. Even these Swedish TDs, 15, 12, 12. Even the tier 9 version. Okay, this has a little bit of bounceability because of this supreme angling of this, but it's only 40 millimeters of frontal armour. So two broad categories. Then you get to things like the Badger, 355 millimeters of very well sloped armour. Now they do have weak spots, of course they do, but I think it really helps to look at TDs as assault guns versus tank destroyers and play them accordingly. So for the purposes of this video, I'm going to look at assault guns, so the heavily armoured versions of tank destroyers that are out there. Things like the Badger, the AMX, to a degree the T-30, the Object 268. Now some of them are very obvious. They have a lot of armour and therefore they are very much assault guns. They have a lot of frontal armour and can stand up to being quite robust in their bounce ability against enemy tanks. But there's some others that are less obvious. Take this one, the ISU 122S, 90mm of armour, and it's quite flat. Is that assault gun or is it a TD? Now I would argue that it depends therefore on your tiering. If you are top tier in this thing, then you can probably be a lot more aggressive, or if you're up against a lot of light tanks, then you can be more aggressive in this thing and treat it much more like an assault gun. If however you don't, then if you're bottom tier, middle tier, lots of heavies out there, then it's possible that you might want to think of these things as sort of traditional tank destroyers, ambush vehicles. Now just because you take a tank as a tank destroyer, a hidey sneaky thing, doesn't mean you have to snipe from the back. And I think that's one of the things that people are mistaken in tank destroyers, is that a tank destroyer, even when it's playing the sort of support tank destroyer role, doesn't have to sit right at the back. You can be just as effective in middle distance, middle range, short to medium sized range in something like this. And in fact you probably have to be, because the accuracy of this gun is 0.41, aim time of 2.9. So you know, it's not really going to be as snipey as something like the Wolverine, which is definitely a snipey tank. There we go, what's that? Accuracy of 0.38 and aim time of 1.7, and with a decent crew you can make it even better. So very much depends on the scenario you're in. As I say, there are definitely some TDs who are very much assault guns, that have the sort of armour that will enable them to go into the heavy environment and to deal with heavy tanks face to face. And indeed that's where they're going to be at their strongest. They are so heavily armoured and they have such a inaccurate gun that they need to be close. Another example, T95 Doom Turtle, 155mm gun, 0.38 dispersion, which is not bad, but an aim time of 2.5. But look at that penetration, 276. And this is another thing you will see with most of the tank destroyers, is that they have a higher caliber gun than their sort of peers in mediums and heavies. Their design, as I said at the beginning, is generally taking an obsolete chassis that isn't being used and then sticking a big ass gun at it, the biggest they can get. And because it doesn't have a turret, most often TDs don't have turrets, you can fit a bigger gun on it. You don't need to worry about the recoil so much as you do with a turreted one. Now there are turreted TDs clearly, and they have a slightly different nuance in how they play. But assault guns are about getting into the teeth of the enemy, to get up close and personal, trusting to their armour to block things, to try and survive longer. And it isn't always immediately obvious. I mean, this is a tier 8 Chinese premium tank destroyer, the WZ-121F, I think one of the finest tanks in the game. Only has 120mm of frontal armour, but look how well angled that is and how low profile this vehicle is. It will bounce shot all day long, even comparatively high stuff. So assault guns are very much the sort of vehicle you want to get closer to the enemy. You want to be able to see the whites of their eyes. You want to be in their faces. You want them to be scared of the derp gun that you're carrying, the big-assed alpha guns. You know, look at this thing. It's a tier 8 tank. It's got apparently a tier 10 gun on it. 440 average damage, 248 penetration. I can do that if I go down to well, the classics are things like the ISU 152s, but here's the Su-100, a tier 6 tank assault gun, which is using, if you use the 122mm gun on it, a tier 7 gun which does 390 alpha. Now bearing in mind this is a tier 6 tank which will see tier 5s, 390 is a large chunk of their health pool. What's the Wolverine have health wise? Why can I never see it? No, 360. So yeah, so a Su 100 can one shot a Wolverine if it penetrates it, and it's going to penetrate it. So you know, it does depend on the tier, and it's also much the same with the what I was saying in all the other classes. You do need to evaluate your tank and take an assessment based on the different tanks that you are up against, the enemy vehicles that you're going to be fighting, because that will also colour the flavour of your style. Do you go defensive? Do you play a snipey distance TD, or do you do a middle distance tank destroyer, or do you play the role that these things were really designed to play, which is up close assault tanks? You know, this thing doesn't have massive amounts of armor, 75mm, but it's pretty well angled and it will bounce shells. It's really designed to get close. Now most often assault guns are turretless. They tend to have, as I say, all their armor at the front. They tend to be designed to roll straight at the enemy and blast them in the face. 88's another example. This was a breakthrough tank. It was designed to roll up to actually physical defenses and be able to take everything that's thrown at it in terms of firepower. That's why it has 203mm of frontal armor on a tier 6 tank. Now this doesn't have the alpha gun because it's British and they don't give alpha guns on British guns. 150, but it fires very, very rapidly. So if I haven't confused everybody already, so two broad themes of TD: tank destroyers, the ones that hide in bushes, the ones that try and use their concealment to best effect, that try and engage at medium to long range. Then there are the assault guns, who, depending on the tiering they're in and the tanks they're up against, will play a much more aggressive style. So if you like to get in your face, into the face of the enemy, but you don't really want to play TD, assault guns, they're the way to go. They're the ones that you want to go. These things get up close, do as much damage as possible, and trust to the armor you've got, which isn't fantastic, but it's better than a light tank or a medium tank. Trust to that armor to keep you alive for long enough to dish out the damage with a big arse gun. That's the broad theme. So let's take a couple out and try and show it as it happens. So enough theory, let's see it in action. So this is Ernst 94 driving the tier 8 Chinese tank destroyer, premium tank destroyer, the WZ-121 FT. A really, really nice, in my opinion, premium tank. I think this is just one of the best TDs in the game, in my humble opinion. Doesn't have massive amounts of armor, but look at the angling on this thing. Well, look at the camo pattern on this. I think that's one of the Christmas camo patterns you can get. Anyway, so WZ, I think I said in one of my videos, I certainly intended to, that if you could only ever play one tank in the game, this would probably be my choice, because I just think it's such a brute. It can actually hold its own in a tier 10, and is a very, very good TD. Good gun. Not particularly thick armor, but very well angled, so you will bounce a lot of shells, and you're going to see that in this game from Ernst. And he's going to play it like I think an assault gun should be played. Now, it's a tier 9 game. If it was a tier 10, he'd have to be a little bit further back than he is, but it's a tier 9 game, and he's going down where the mediums play, and boy is he going to play. So he's got a back chat with him on for support and an AMX a bit further back. What are we going to see around this corner? Invariably there's a number of mediums and heavies, mediums and light tanks come this way. Not usually a TD like this, so let's see how they like 122mm of Chinese. Nice shot into the T54, gets hit by an ammo shell, artillery shell, ammo shell, they're all ammo shells. Misses that T44. So you're going to bring back around. Look at the reload on this gun. 8.9 seconds to brutalise an enemy team. Can he get a shot on that T-54? Aiming for the top of his roof of his turret. Manages to put shell through the 54. Now he's going balls deep. Look at that. Boom. All that engagement at short range. Probably shorter than you'd probably expect, but now he's got an even 90 to finish up. Good night, Vienna. Now, watch this coming up here. This is brutalising assault gun work at its best. IS-6, TS-8 premium heavy tank around that corner. He don't care. Puts one shell through the front. That's a regular round through him. And bounces a return shot from the IS-6. Does take a hit from the Scorpion back there, or was it UDES back there? And look at this, just working this guy over. This poor IS-6 has no idea how to deal with this tank destroyer. Straight through the front, bang. But you get absolutely marmalised by an artillery shell. First of all, the IS-6 fired premium, took 400 off him, then the RT finished him up with an even worse shell. So, he's lost 2/3 of his health, but he has now done 3,000 damage and got 3 kills, and he's going a-hunting. There's a bat chat around here somewhere. Where is he? Waiting to see whether that AMX, and look at him just creep forward. Now we're going to TD mode. He knows that there's a number of, well, last spotted a number of enemy tanks down at C3, C4 area, and the Batchat's just finished up our AMX supports, so we're a bit isolated here. Waiting for, oh, there's a WZ-132, nice shell into his side, sets him on fire, but his automatic fire extinguisher turns it off. So Scorpion G, can we reload for him? Sadly not. Was he going to come back? No. Oh, that 12 ton has dealt with our 25 AP. So, team's losing. It's 5 plays 7. Nice shot. Hits the Scorpion. Bounces the Scorpion's return shot. Batchat coming around behind. Well, Batchat 12 ton. Not a proper Batchat. Auto lock on. Bang. He's down as well. Look at these engagements. I mean, nothing much beyond just outside short range. Most of the shots have been done in short range. T-49 coming around behind. He's got to watch out for that thing. If he's firing the dirt, this could be problematic. Some 4,200 damage. He wants more. 4 kills so far. So he's waiting. Good loaded weight. He's loaded an HE shell, which is an interesting option. Good to see, rather than default firing premium. Bit unlucky there, puts a shot into the T-49, doesn't pen him, and only tracks him in place. T-49 is going for the rear. This could be good night, Vienna. No. And miraculously, he doesn't get penned from the side by that T-49, which enables him to turn around and take him out with another HE shell. Good job. Right, got lucky there, but you got to ride your luck sometimes, right? I don't know why the T-49 didn't pen him. Swap back to AP rounds again. 5,000 damage, 5 kills. Is that WZ going to be his next kill? He's spotted. Takes him down, blocks the shot from the WZ. There's that armour at work. These things are surprisingly well armoured. So, game's now 11 plays 9. He blocks the object 257 shot, and he's off to the race. You can see the RT's telling him that there's a shell coming in on that object 257. Oh, and he's got an ISM in support. We've loaded a premium round. RT just misses and only splashes, which is a shame. We get a shot onto this. Ah, this ISM turned his turret, put one through the side of that. Can we get another one? Locking it on. Aim for the object. Nice, back of the turret, he's taken another big hit. Artie's signalling that he's firing, but there's nothing for him to fire at, so hopefully he didn't waste his shell. Okay, so just 2 enemy tanks left, an IS-3 and the Defender. However, we're down to 4 tanks and 1 artillery, so yeah, it's not a foregone conclusion here. And both these guys have got kills, they know what they're doing. However, Ernst has got 7 kills. He's trying to poke over there. Gun depression is not great on this tank. He's almost drawing them up here. Decides he's better off going to support this Defender. Again, support tank, that's what I'm talking about. Getting up, supporting your heavies at relatively close range. Turns around to deal with this IS-3, goes for the flat section there, puts a shell through him, finishes him off. 6,008 kills. Can he get the 9th kill? The Defender's still out there. Using this mobility, got the lock on, puts a shot into him. That was a nice bit lucky, firing not fully aimed. Can he get the kill? Fires the UDES out the way, don't want him in the way. He's going to have to go into siege mode, and that is it. 9th kill. Good job. What a good game. And there you go. That's an assault gun up close and personal. So, cracking game from Ernst. Unsurprisingly, was an ace tanker. He got Bruiser, Duelist, Fire for Effect, Shell Proof, Radley Walters Medal for killing 8 or 9 enemy tanks, Spartan, Naden's Medal, which is for destroying all the enemy light tanks in the game, at least 3, so that's a very unusual medal, High Caliber, and of course Top Gun. Finished up, unsurprisingly, top of his team, 7,437 damage, 9 kills, 2,275 base XP. Wow, 2,000! That's a massive, massive result. 22 shots, hit with 21, penned with 21, and that was because they were all at short range. Everything was short range. Well, there was 1 hit at long range. Here we go. Just more than 300 meters, 483, and it was probably just only over 300 meters. He took 8 hits himself, 2 of which penned, 6 bounced, so he actually blocked nearly 2,000 with that, and did 1,000 assistance, so a whopping 200,000 credits. Wow, there must have been some sort of special happening then, or boosters or something. Didn't fire much premium, which is one of the reasons why I like this game a lot. 42,000 profit, 42,000, and with, yeah, look, he had some missions running. 10,580 experience for the crew. Wow, 10,000 experience and 140,000 credits. That's fun. So that was up close and personal. Let's have another look at a different assault gun doing this sort of thing. Okay, so this is Black Wolf, aka Black Sun. No, he's not really. They're 2 different players. Black Wolf, who is actually the brother of Shoot the Scoot, would you believe? He is driving, I think, one of the worst premium tanks in the game, but he swears by it. This is the AT-15A Tier 7 British premium tank destroyer. Like all these AT things, it's relatively slow moving, rapid firing gun, and pretty reasonable armour, although in today's meta, sort of armour this thing has, and it's pretty flat. Look at that. We can't see him go through bushes. Look at that, 2 British beauties, a TOG and an AT driving together. Wow, must be love. Yeah, so the AT-15A, just too many flat surfaces really to be truly effective, but it is what it is. But Black Wolf is one of those delightful players you come up against. Love playing platooning with him, and he only plays British tanks. How patriotic is that? So we're going to whiz forward onto the heavy line. We're on Redshire here, coming down what's always known as the heavy line. And as I say, these sort of TDs are at their best. Yes, this thing can snipe because the accuracy of the gun is not too bad, but it's really I think comes into its own when you get up close and personal. It's an assault gun. That's what it was designed to be. In reality, these AT tanks were for breakthrough, heavily defended areas. That's why they had a lot of armour at the front and a fixed gun. So that's how Black Wolf is going to play this here. He's platooned up with the wonderful named Majestic Spoon, who was up ahead in the HTC, which is the reward tank you get for doing the second set of personal missions. American Tier 7 tank destroyer assault gun. I'm going to say tank destroyer, it's not, it's an assault gun exactly like this. Nice big gun, very nice armour, particularly when people don't know where to shoot you. So, Black Wolf has finally got into the game. Worried about that T20 up around the corner there. Not so worried about this T34-100. Look at this, straight in, no messing, going for this IS. There's a shell into this guy, he's working him off. Somebody else deals with the T34-100, and Black Wolf should get this guy. Yeah, there he does. And he just bulldoze. I play my Japanese obese tanks in the same way, just bulldoze. Just keep moving. It's amazing how many people get intimidated by something coming rolling at them like this. There's a bit of sniping here on the OI, sorry, not an OI. Aiming for the booby, doesn't need to worry, he's down. Bounced an RT shell, did you see that? So, cap is under threat, and we haven't got an awful lot of tanks trying to recap it, so Black Wolf's decided he's going almost straight across. Oh, but then he sees the RT. Hello, RT. Hasn't got a shot on him though, yes he has. Oh, no. Here we go. D20, you're next. Hold still while we hit you. Nice, he's down. Long range shot. Bounces off the turret of the KV-85. Unlucky there with that shooting. Jag Panther, you really don't want to be spotted there. Wow. Picks him up as a kill, ARL. So you can see you can do the job of long range firing, but really this thing is not at its best doing that. It really wants to be up close and keep moving. I think that's the thing with this thing. Oh, no gun depression, or gun elevation more likely. It's 9 plays 5. Black Wolf's got 3 kills, done 1600 damage. And he's got wagons rolling, he's moving. I'll just speed this up a little bit. There's the Sioux, can we get a shot on him? No. Majestic Spoon has gone back into the Cutledge Raw. Sioux-100 is getting hit by somebody. Oh, there's a Jag Panther sitting there. He's in the ditch though, so I don't think we can get a shot on him. Never mind. KB3 got him. This game is pretty much done and dusted. Just see how much damage you can do towards the end. Is that Sioux still going to be waiting for him as he come over to the top? We've got plenty of health. And that's the other thing you do with these sort of assault guns. You know, buying... Ooh, hello. It's a bit of a turnaround. Is buying kills and damage with your health pool and your armour. So you try and deal with the armour first of all. Nice shell, come on, around this guy. Good job. Right, he's down. Enemy WZ 132 firing. Bouncing shells like a champion. Actually, that one went through. That went through, that one. WZ131GFT, that's the TD. Like that, it prioritises the more dangerous target rather than going for the easier shot onto the T34-85, which is a good thing. And anyway, finishes up with a kill, first 5th kill, so well played. Good job. So again, Black Wolf using the assault gun as an assault gun, getting up close and personal. He bulldozed through the heavy line, supporting his heavies and the other assault tanks there, and really worked over. Most of his damage was done at close range. Did do some sniping, but that was more situational, and can't blame him for that at all. Got second class out of it. He got shell proof, duelist, fighter, fire for effect, and steel wool. he finished up, he finished top of his team. There you go, 2,233 damage, 5 kills, 975 base XP, fired 23 shots, hit with 21 and penned with 18. Took 11 hits himself, 4 of which penned, 7 did not, for 1,200 blocked. 65,000 credits, didn't need any skill rounds at all, 55.5 profit. Is not a bad return, and with all the bonuses and personal reserves and playing in a platoon and playing in a premium tank, 4,736 experience for his British TD crew. So there you go, another example of an assault gun playing as an assault gun, supporting the heavies, supporting the other TDs up close and personal. This time mostly engaging at short range until the situation changed and he needed to fire at long range. So, but really these things, close and personal, short and medium range is where the sweet spot is. So the golden rules for assault guns, as far as I'm concerned, is try and keep the engagement to short and medium range. Try not to be the snipey guy that sits at the back, because really these things are not designed for it. They've got armor, they have armor for a reason. The armor is there because they are designed to be closer to the enemy than the sort of traditional sneaky tank destroyer. So use that armor, get close, don't throw your tank away, don't be the first into battle, be the sort of second or third. Just sit behind the heavies, try and scare the enemy with your big ass gun, and if they happen to try and pick on you, then you've got your armor and hopefully a bit of mobility to get away from them. If you don't like, if you come into a game and you've got the assault gun and you are bottom tier, which let's face it happens a lot, then reassess. Maybe look to be more sort of medium range engagement. Don't try and get too close. Now the proviso is, of course, these sort of tanks don't tend to have very accurate guns, so sniping from range is not always going to help you. So try and keep it at that sort of medium engagement range, where you've got a chance to influence, because even when you're bottom tier, so you know this AMX AC, it's a tier 8 tank, it'll see 10s a lot of the time, but in theory this gun is a tier 10 gun. This top gun on this, it's got a very impressive 257 penetration, 325 if I swap to the skill rounds. So even tier 10s will worry about that sort of thing. So you know, you may be bottom tier, but you can deal with it. Don't be afraid to look for opportunity to move. See too often tank destroyers, and artillery for that matter, just sort of get themselves into their nice position where there's farming damage, and then they don't react quickly enough, either to fall back to a new position or to move forward and to capitalize on what's happening. Sitting in a bush, firing for a while, doing a lot of damage. You see it's Maravanka, isn't it? The big open one where everyone goes into a snipe fest in rows 1 to 3, especially if there's a scout up in front. And you know, it's really, that's great. You can do a lot of damage, but you can then meanwhile be sitting there waiting for the next bit of damage, and the entire other side and the centre have fallen, and next thing you know, they're all coming at you from all directions and you're dead. So if you see the fact that you've probably blunted the attack that's coming down that lane, don't be afraid to relocate somewhere else and provide that fire support. That's your role. So TDs are support vehicles. They're not real, even the assault guns, they're not up front line tanks. They are just behind if they are top tier or middle tier, and a bit further back still if they are bottom tier. And you know, if you play them as that kind of role, you'll end up doing a lot of damage, and a lot of kills for your team, and hopefully it'll drive your win rate up. So anyway, I hope you found this useful and interesting. If you did, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. The next one will look at the pure play tank destroyers, the hide and seek merchants, and look at them and give you some advice of how to play them, how best to look at them in terms of their historic role and therefore their role in the game. In the meantime, enjoy your games, have fun, try not to take it too seriously, and I'll see you again soon. This is Gamer Dom, signing out.